Chicken sugar sugar, chicken sugar sugar. Chicken sugar sugar, chicken sugar sugar.
Shake it loud, yes. Hi guys, Shoujo Thoughts here, and that intro came from, I believe the band is called Six Gravity. The song Gravitic Love. So there you have that. Anyway, welcome to the latest episode of my podcast. I'm going to jump right in because there is a lot to talk about today. So beginning with a blogosphere update. On my own blog, since the last time that I recorded, you will see that I have written a post, Hark, you're in the presence of Rem Arland. It was an English interpretation of a Japanese character song. And it was just something fun that I did, in my spare time. So you can take a look at that if you want to. And then I wrote a Fanfiction Friday post, of course. I finished Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is something that we're definitely going to talk about this week, but I have a post. And it's not even a review post or a summation post, just how I felt having watched it. And I think it's going to be the first part of a post series all focused on Brotherhood. So if you want to go find that and get in the loop there, you can. Another post that I did for fun in about 5 minutes where I was considering singing the song Zoetrope, but I didn't know if I should sing it in Japanese or in English because I am learning the song in Japanese, and then I'm going to talk about that a little bit in the future as well for a different reason. I have got back to my watch-alongs for Marmalade Boy. Episode 2 is now out, and I have actually recorded a few more watch-along posts written a few more watch-along posts that will come out. I have them scheduled, so be looking out for those. And then I got nominated for a Sunshine Blogger Award from Matt in the Hat. And he asked a bunch of questions, and I answered them, and then I tagged people and wrote my own questions, as one does for these types of things. But my questions are fire, so if you were tagged, you should answer the questions, and if you weren't tagged, you should still go in the comments and answer the questions, because, like I said, they're fire, and you probably are too. And now on other people's blogs, there are 3 that I would specifically like to mention. The first being Scott over at Mechanical Anime Reviews. He wrote a post, Thoughts on Hakuoki and Reverse Harem. I was so excited when he decided to watch Hakuoki. He was on Twitter and he was inquiring to the internet at large about what he should be watching. And of course, me being me, anytime someone asks what should I watch, I immediately slither in there and go, Hakuoki, in a stage whisper. But surprisingly enough, someone listened to me this time and he watched it. And one episode in, I remember he said something about how he thought that it had potential, but he didn't know if it was going to be one of his favorites. And then about 3 episodes in, he tweeted at me and he was like that it was going good, and now he's got a post. So if you want to go see how he feels about Hakuoki, you can go ahead and do that. It's on his blog now. The second post is from Karandi over at 100 Word Anime. She read a Tuesday top 5 Tuesday. Anime that should be rebooted, and that was fun to look at. And just as a side note, she did mention Fruits Basket, and don't we all want to reboot a Fruits Basket with the same voice actors that follows the manga plotline? Because I do. And then lastly, Lita over at Lita Lita over at Lita Kino Anime Corner received the Mystery Blogger Award. So if you want to go and read that article and learn a little bit more about Lita, you can do that. So up for discussion this episode, to overview, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Haikyuu, that sports anime, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about how blogger Hazelin is watching Utapri now. Yes, finally, I know. I have some stuff. Did I say tough? Some stuff I want to go over about Anime Expo 2017. A little bit of talk about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, about Marmalade Boy, and then about Zoetrope, that song that I had mentioned. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So, Haikyuu. I don't even really know what this show is about. I know it's a sports anime, and I know that it is very beloved by several of the people that I talk to in the blogging community. I think it's about volleyball. I think that it probably has some really fun characters. It's a shonen series, but most of the people that I know who like it are girls. Not that girls can't like shonen series, but you understand then that this is there's a conflict there, I suppose, in genre, not that it really matters. And it was licensed by Sentai, so I'm wondering if it has a dub, because if it has a dub, and I can get a hold of that dub, I'm going to be watching that. And then, so sports comedy, and I'm really thinking about watching it. And I'm sure I could say, let me know in the comments if I should watch it or not, but most of you will be like, yes, watch it, do it, just like when I tell people to watch Hakuoki or something. So I'll probably be doing that in the near future and maybe blogging about my experiences with it. So there you go. Nextly, speaking of people who should be watching certain shows, myself included, Hazelyn is now watching Prince Sama. And how exciting is that? And it was the best thing ever because she messaged me about a character and I was like, girl, that's Ranmaru. And it was like, that was all she needed and she was going to go watch it. And that's going to be really exciting. I'm hoping she blogs about it. And yes, moving on. So with Anime Expo 2017, I wrote a post about it. I mentioned it briefly in my last podcast. And now things are starting to pick up. And even though we have about 2 months before we actually need to make the trip, there's a lot that has to be done in that 2 months. If, for example, my cosplay is going to be a success. So starting off, I'm going to tell you a story. Last time we talked about this, it was my friend and I headed off to California to this expo. It was our first Anime Con, and we were both very excited. I'm planning on cosplaying, and my friend is not. Now, since then, things have changed a little bit. At church on Sunday, Easter Sunday, my husband and I were sitting at a table with our family, and there were some empty seats in front of us, and the seminary students, because I assume, I don't know if it works this way with every seminary and every denomination, but in our particular religious denomination, the seminary students are assigned to a church and work under a pastor. So we have 2 seminary students, and they came and sat down with us. And it occurred to me that I could sit there and be socially awkward, or I could speak my mind and be socially awkward, So we started a conversation with them. And we come to find out that we actually have a lot in common with at least one of them. And it's so funny because the person in question that I'm speaking of actually brought up anime to me when I asked him about his interest. I asked them both, and he brought up anime, and I instantly, because you know me, I became so excited and also so shocked that someone in the seminary would like anime, because we come from a very conservative, traditional, theological background. And so I was very surprised about that. But we got to talking, and we talked for a good long while, and I ended up kind of off the cuff inviting him to come with us to the convention, because I mentioned to him that my friend and I were going to go, and he says that he was thinking about going too. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, but he didn't know anybody who was going to go. So he was like debating with himself. And I told him, well, if you come, you can share a room with us if you want. And I told him we were going to fly out, and he asked, well, can you, I was thinking about driving if you wanted to do that. And I'm like, well, we can't really get a refund for our tickets. And plus, it is a lot faster to fly. So, but now I think he might be flying out too. And in any case, it doesn't really matter, because this was a thing that happened. And so then I went back and I talk to my other friend. These people really need to get some fake names so I can reference them on the blog instead of saying my friend and my other friend, and this one's a seminarian and this one I've known for a long time. But anyway, I talked to him about it, and he seemed pretty chill, but we decided, why don't we all like hang out and get to know each other a little bit? So on Thursday evening, I had my two friends over, and we found out that we really mesh as friends. It was so exciting to make a friend as an adult, and we all kind of laugh about that. Like, how do you make friends when you're not an undergrad anymore? Like, what do you do? And even my husband, who is the epitome of the cool type and is so reserved most of the time, can sit and hold a conversation with this guy and feel comfortable doing so. And we all have a lot in common with some of our various interests, and it's just really cool. So we are a go for Anime Expo, and now our, little group is up to 3. When they get some names decided on, I can start referencing them as such, and you'll know who I'm talking about a little bit more. But this person, this seminary student friend that we now have, is also going to be cosplaying, though he doesn't know as what yet. He's done Kenshin in the past. I think it seems really cool. And he has been to several conventions before, so he'll know a little bit more about what he's doing, and maybe he can direct us a little bit because, like I said, we're totally new to this whole experience. Moving on from that, speaking of cosplay, there are 2 things that I need to mention about Yuri on Ice that have to do with Anime Expo. The first is that I know there are going to be Yuri on Ice cosplayers. I know it. There are probably going to be tons. I'm going to be so excited. I will melt into a screaming puddle of shoujo goop and just die every time I see one, and probably take like 75,000 pictures with them and just like fawn over them. And, I'm just so excited. Secondly, and I'm going to get this wrong because I heard this secondhand from one of my friends, but either the creator, director, producer, somebody of Yuri on Ice is going to be at the expo. How amazing, guys, would it be if they announced season 2 at the expo? The timing would be perfect if they announced season 2. I know they have enough momentum for it. I almost think it's likely to happen. And if it does, I don't know how I will be able to function for the rest of the trip. So great will my excitement be. Just thinking about it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. How many times can I say I'm so excited before it gets really, really old? I don't know. And then I was thinking about how, so the expo is hosted, if I remember right. Let me type that in and make sure that I am right about this before I start saying it. The Anime Expo is hosted by, partially, Viz Media, right? And then also, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I know who I'm talking about. Axis, like AKSYS, Axis Games, who are responsible for the localization of Hakuoki, which makes me believe that there will probably be Hakuoki merchandise, which seems really difficult to get when you live outside of Japan, because you have to find somebody who has bought it and then sells it, to the English market at probably some enormous markup, right? But I'm hoping I can get some really cool Hakuoki merch when I go, like maybe like a Harada wall hanging or something, because we all know that Hakuoki is my jam. I don't have to say that anymore, but I'm going to keep saying it. And then moving on from the expo for a moment, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I guess really is not moving on from the expo, because I'm really, really hoping I see FMA cosplayers, because I will also freak out, especially if I see an Armstrong cosplayer, and what if they're like really, really strong, and like, so I have a friend who's really, really strong, and he can lift me over his head because he's just really big and really strong. How many times can I say that? What if there was a really big, really strong person who could like lift up really tiny people, and then he could be Armstrong, and I would freak out a little bit and die a little bit because excitement. Or what if I saw like Roy Mustang, who is kind of like my husbando now, because he's really cool. And what if he was cosplaying? Or what if I saw like a Lust cosplayer, because that would just be really awesome. And yeah. But anyway, Brotherhood. I finished it. I cried buckets. There were so many moments in that series that were so emotional. I didn't expect it to be as profoundly impactful as it was when I went into watching it. And so coming out of that, how do I phrase this? Coming out of that, I felt like I had gained something and like I had lost something in a way that I don't always feel upon completion of an anime series. It actually felt as though I had seen something that made me question a couple of various philosophies. And the entirety of the work itself, the way that the writing was done, how it followed the manga, I suppose, and then just, it's so difficult to be eloquent, but I do plan to make a post series about this where I, address specific issues, specific incidences, and specific characters and what that means for the overall plot of Brotherhood. Be looking for those posts to come out slowly over time. I would imagine the first one will be out in a few weeks because this next week is going to be completely insane finishing up school. Oh my gosh, there's so much I should be doing. And then, of course, Marmalade Boy. You'll notice that I got back to my watch-alongs for that. I have watched a few episodes and written blog posts about them, and those will be coming up, with some sort of frequency here in the next week or two. I won't freak out about it too much because a lot of what I have to say is said in the posts, but it's the 90s, and some stuff, to be very vague about it, TM, some stuff, still not okay in the 90s, still not okay. And if you've seen Marmalade Boy, I'm about 5 episodes in or so you probably know what I'm talking about. Still not okay. Lastly, so whenever I got together with my friends on Thursday night, we were talking about karaoke. It started off because we were talking about the expo and how one of my friends and I were going to the pre-show night, and I think that the other one is going to go to like a concert. But anyway, we talked about going to karaoke and singing Japanese songs. And I just made a passing comment that I would sing in Japanese if we did that. And one of my friends, our new friend, said that he would also sing in Japanese if I did. And so I have very slowly been learning Zoetrope in Japanese. And I can get through about the first minute or so without really making too big of a mistake. But I'm going to have to finish learning that so I can sing karaoke about it. It's a lot harder to sing it in Japanese than it is in English because it's just not, the mouthfeel of the words isn't what you're accustomed to. But I'm getting there, so there's a couple of lines that are really difficult, like the one where it says, Chi sana hi ni toraware. That one's always really hard and it does move fairly quickly, but I'm getting there. So, Tsukima kara kobore dasu, Chi sana hi ni toraware, Hakujitsumu ni nida michi aruki aruki. There we go. But that's all I really have for now. I will post this and then I will be seeing you guys later. So have a really good I should re-record this, but I probably won't. Have a really good night.